Do you guys have tickets? Do you have validated tickets? Huh? Did you guys buy tickets for the tram or no?
Yes.
You did? Do you guys have ticket for the tram? You don't? In our latest video, we showed you this ticket. And we asked a lot of people, even Czechs, locals from Prague, is there something wrong with this ticket? If you bought it, can you use it? And people said, yeah, I mean, it's a ticket. It came out of the machine, right? I just paid for it. Well, if you use that ticket, you can be fined. And there are ticket inspectors who will fine you for it, simply because the machine was working improperly and didn't print the ticket correctly. So an employee of a company will give you a fine because his company is not working properly. Yup, those cases are rare, but they do happen in Prague. And there's many other examples of a bad behavior of a ticket inspector towards tourists that we have. Just so you have an idea, there's about 150 ticket inspectors in Prague, English not needed for the job, by the way, and they get paid roughly over 2,000 euros in salary. Now, their actual salary is much, much lower, but they get bonuses if they catch a person without a ticket and they give them the fine and the person pays the fine on the spot. That's when you get your bonus. The Prague funicular is very popular among tourists, therefore it's popular among the ticket inspectors. To ride it, you either need a full day or a 3-day ticket, or you need to buy a special ticket on the spot, yet you still need to validate it. We have covered this topic about a tourist who got into a fight with the inspector and they just wouldn't let him go.
If I show you a payment, does it work? If I show you the payment for the ticket? Cash card, give me the tickets first.
And that was not the only case from the funicular. After publishing that video, we have received an email from a person working somehow for the city, giving us this example of a bad story. And that is a tourist from Denmark. She used the funicular, she bought a ticket, she forgot to validate it, and she faced a ticket inspector. Later, she went to ask into an info center and she said, you know, I bought the ticket, I forgot to stamp it, and I was fined. And they only found out at the info center that she was also over the age of 65. Therefore, she didn't even need to have a ticket. The only thing she faced from the ticket inspector, and let me quote here, is a very rude behavior and constant repeating of cash or card.
Cash card?
This person has sent us multiple stories, again, not of some teenagers trying to avoid fare, but of elderly people. There's a story of a cop from Germany who just didn't validate the ticket, yet they had to pay the fine. The stories repeat over and over. Rude behavior from the ticket inspectors. Another example, but still the same location, but a little different story. American students, they had valid tickets. They were studying abroad in Prague. The university provided them with valid month tickets, yet the ticket inspector still fined them. I wasn't present at the situation. They proved it in the email. Unfortunately, I cannot show you due to personal information, but what they say is rather than to argue with a ticket inspector who spoke very bad English, we paid on the spot. Obviously, we're not gonna share any personal data with you like names, phone numbers, emails, your birth date, and so on. But guess what? Your data may already be flying around the internet. And that's where the sponsor of today's video steps in to help you. Incogni is a website, a service that you can pay for to get your personal data deleted from all these sites to prevent spams, robocalls, unwanted reaching to you with sites that know your name and know what you're up to or after. There are different data breaches where these sites or companies get your contacts, and you can write to them one by one and say, I want you to delete my personal data, but there's not 4 or 5 of them, there may be hundreds of them, and it would take you forever to do so. Incogni will do this for you. Honza actually tested the service, and it was like, what, more than 150 sites already had his personal data. I know for myself that there's a website where you can get my phone number, so I'm about to delete it with Incogni. I know when I'm in US, people sometimes don't even pick up the phone because most of the calls are just robocalls. So get rid of that with Incogni. If you use the code HONESTGUIDE, you will get 60% off, or simply click the link below this video. Not only tourists sometimes have a clash with the ticket inspectors, but even Czechs and people from Prague, locals. And there are cases when they buy a ticket through different systems. For example, an SMS ticket. You simply type an SMS, you send it to a number that costs whatever amount you want to buy, but the ticket will not come immediately to you. It will come within a minute or two. Same goes if you buy the ticket in an app. There's an app where you can buy a ticket. You buy the ticket, you pay it immediately, instantly, you activate it, but it takes 2 minutes before the ticket is valid. You cannot board the tram if it's not valid. And the last case is when you board the tram, you can buy a ticket on the tram. It's in the middle, there's a machine, you can easily pay with your card. But again, before reaching it, you're riding without a ticket. In all these cases, the ticket inspector can fine you. Should he fine you? I think it's ridiculous. You had the intention or you already bought a ticket. That's a good reminder for you. Yes, it's really easy to buy the tickets in the app, but once you hit activate, it takes 2 minutes in which you're riding illegally if you step onto the tram or the metro. Now, this scenario has repeated a lot in the emails and from what I heard from people. They buy the ticket, they see their tram coming, they hit activate, but they cannot board for another 2 minutes. And yes, there are cases where the ticket inspectors fine them. Under any circumstances in the world, I would never, ever pay a fine. I've already purchased the ticket, I'm just waiting for it to be valid? I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. Now, what rights do the ticket inspectors actually have towards you as a person that does not have a valid ticket? Well, in their heads, they have all the rights in the world they have. I mean, we've seen it in our latest video where they almost call themselves police.
But you're not the police.
Yes, we are the police for the public transport.
They do have a right to give you a fine. They may ask you to pay it on the spot, but you're not obligated to do that. You do have to provide information so they can send you the fine, but again, cash your card or write you a ticket. Now, this is not a guidebook for people who are intentionally not buying a ticket, riding without it, and walking away just saying, well, just write me a fine, you'll never get me. They will get you eventually, don't worry, and the fine will be much higher. This is more for a 65-year-old lady who bought a ticket, and she was in the right. Now, if the ticket inspector, and again, we have heard it on the recording we have, is threatening to call police, and then later the fine will be even higher because of that, it's an utter lie. The fine will not be higher if he calls police. There's no reason really to call police, only if he is holding onto your ID, refusing to give it back. He's not allowed to do that. Again, you can pay the fine on the spot, it will be lower, or you can have him write the fine. From various articles, we found out that around 3% of people do not buy a ticket on the Prague public transport. So let's find out and ask a few tourists if they have a ticket. Do you guys have a ticket for the tram?
We don't have a ticket.
You don't? No. Are you just risking it, or?
I guess we do.
Yeah? Do you know what's the fine if you don't have the ticket?
I don't. No, we didn't look at it. Do you do?
I think it's around 50 euros.
50 euros.
Yeah?
It's pretty fine.
It's a fine. And do you know how much the ticket for a full day is?
I don't think it's that much.
Yeah, it's very cheap. It's 4 euros.
4 euros.
Yeah. Where are you guys from?
Netherlands.
Okay. Honestly, it was a shock to me to run into these two young kids for whom buying a ticket in Prague cannot be a serious expense. I mean, it's 1.5 euros for a ride. It's 5 euros for a full day ticket. But they intentionally didn't buy it. Would I defend them if they were given a fine? No. I would be more than happy if they were fined in that situation. But then we switched to another tram. Oh, you validated it twice.
Yeah? So not good?
No, you only validated once.
Oh.
This guy, he validated his ticket twice, making it invalid. Would I defend this guy if he was being fined? Yes, with all my heart, because he bought a ticket. He wanted to ride legally, yet he made an honest mistake. That happens. But in both of these cases, the ticket inspector could give an identical fine. But hey, at the end of the day, we can say, well, the ticket inspectors did help the city because they collected more than 4 million euros, which is money that will stay in the country and will be used for our lovely public transport. But what's the damage they have caused? How much money a tourist spends average on a day in Prague for hotel, for restaurants, buying souvenirs on the public transport? And after they experience something really bad in the city, will they come back? I don't know, maybe not. But I can guarantee that they will spend more on a day visit in Prague than on the fine that they leave in the city. Therefore, what we want is for them to come back, not to pay fines. And yes, I don't know if paying the fine means they're not coming back to the country, but it will leave a bitter taste. And now, why I personally am mad about this state of the current situation with the ticket inspectors? Because it's the only thing where the city is powerful enough to get the fines paid. In all the other cases, when Czechs are violating the law, when they're violating different city rules, when we catch the money scammers on the street, nobody ever gets fined. It's very rare that somebody would pay on the spot. It usually goes to certain city districts and then it's kind of forgotten. But if you catch a tourist, he'll always pay. Therefore, we made an offer on the Czech version of this video to all the ticket inspectors, they're not watching this one as most of them don't speak English, that we will pay them more if they catch the money scammers instead of old ladies without a ticket. I mean, come on, anyone can do that. But can you catch these big guys? And instead of cash or card, you can grab them and say rubles or Rubeš. Thanks to all the great people of the Prague public transport who are making the public transport the best in the world. You'll love it. Just please buy a ticket. It's so easy. On the tram, in the app, buy a month pass. You'll love it. You'll ride it till you will hate it. If you want to have a beer on the tram, you can do that as well. Right here. This place is called Točna. How to find it? Use our maps on our Patreon. That's a way you can support us and we treasure it. So thank you so much for that. We'll see you in Prague or next week here on The Honest Guy. And in the end, I'm going to teach you how to say, if you refuse, for example, to pay the fine, you can say, odmítám, I refuse. Odmítám zaplatit, I refuse to pay. I was taught that by a YouTuber.